The scariest places on earth, Russian Alcatraz. What is the most horrifying and disturbing thing that can torment you the most? Yes, it's isolation and loneliness. The damage it does is so severe that even a glimpse of it can send shivers down your spine. Even the fear of ghosts comes next to it. Or should I say, isolation is the one that can simply make someone a ghost. Russian Alcatraz prison is such a brutal place. If you take a look at it, you'd feel goosebumps. But what makes this place so scary? Is it the isolation only, or something else? Well, today we're going to talk about the Russian Alcatraz prison, considered one of the scariest places on earth. Hello, Ghostbusters. Welcome to Dark Chronicles, the most favorite channel of yours, where we share with you spine-chilling, nail-biting, dark, creepy, and scary real-life incidents across the globe. Likewise, before we proceed to our topic, subscribe to our channel and keep following us by clicking the bell icon. So without any further ado, let's jump right in. The jailhouse of Vologodsky Pyatak, often known as Russian Alcatraz, is housed in a former monastery and was built in the 16th century. It has a strong Shutter Island or Alcatraz feel to it. It's situated on a small island. It's completely impossible to get out of there unofficially. Although one man attempted to escape jail by climbing into a sewage truck, he was unable to swim to solid ground. As a result, he had to return to Russia's Alcatraz prison with a life sentence. A little lake sits atop a large woods around 460 kilometers north of Moscow in the Vologda region. The lake is known as Nava Zero, and the islands in the middle are known as Ogden, which means flaming islands or fire. It's encircled by ice for most of the year and is only connected to the mainland via a tiny bridge. One of the most barren prisons in the Russian penal system is located on Fire Island. The high-security prison, known as Russian Alcatraz, held 170 inmates who were among the country's most vicious offenders. Unlike other well-known Russian Federation prisoners, such as the infamous Black Dolphin Theater, it's free of violent battles between competing gangs, rape, and drug addiction. Sure, there's still violence, but it isn't as prevalent as it once was. The pace of life is rather leisurely and quiet, but there's something about this jail that ingrains itself in the psyche of its inmates. Something subtle but as savage and soul-destroying as regular bullying and power abuse. Even the most brutal man can beg for death if he's subjected to a constant regime of solitude and the sheer futility of an empty life. This is the place on the island where your soul will rot. That's why Piatak is believed to be the world's most frightening jail. With watchtowers on every corner, the jail structures occupy practically circular sets of regulations. The perimeter is patrolled by armed guards and police dogs. The Safari Islands can only be reached through a short wooden bridge or a prison boat that travels across the waters of Lake Nova Zero, commonly known as White Lake. Despite the island's ominous image, this lake is one of Russia's most beautiful. The area's natural beauty as well as its desolation are undeniable. We've seen the prison from the outside, but how is it on the inside? What is it about it that makes it so terrifying? The regulations of the jail are straightforward, yet they are effective in attaining their objectives. Prison officials' preferred method of punishing criminals and breaking their spirits is harsh isolation. Each prisoner is housed in a tiny cell with other convicts when they arrive. There are fewer distractions permitted, including no television or literature. During the day, the bed is hidden, and the convicts are forced to stand on a little wooden patch that is just a few inches broad. Every day, this goes on for 22 hours. Misbehaving convicts are sent to the lockup for a minimum of 15 days and kept in cramped, dark chambers. The inmates are only allowed 2 visits per year for the first 10 years of his or her sentence. After the 10 years have passed, each visit can take no more than 2 hours. Svetlana, a psychologist in Piatak, highlighted the impact of the prison's enforcement isolation to the Telegraph in 2004. Their personalities began to erode after 3 or 4 years. It's impossible to live 25 years in an environment like this without being mentally harmed. She's discovered that certain areas of the island, as well as the jail itself, have a weird quality about them. The second creeping, explainable ghost stories from the infamous Russian Alcatraz prison were discovered. If one looks into the brutal histories and some of the more infamous criminals housed there, it wouldn't be easy to understand why some people believe the holds of the prison are still haunted by the criminals who lived and died there. Let's take a look at Russian Alcatraz's history first. The initial inmates were military convicts who were ordered to build a new jail when it opened in the late 1850s. When the federal government chose to open a minimum privilege, maximum security prison for the country's most recalcitrant convicts, Russian Alcatraz was designed to shatter the spirit of the most dangerous inmates by forcing them to follow organized, boring routines. Prisoners had just 4 basic needs until their release: clothing, food, housing, and medical care. Outside of those 4 fundamental demands, inmates would have to work. Monsters and other inmates were able to persuade guards by doing special favors for them, but that would never happen in a place like Russian Alcatraz. The jail guards could not be bribed. The strip cell was used as harsh punishment for convicts who refused to follow the rules and do as they were ordered. The cell was erected onto the lower tier of D block, and mice were placed within dark confinement to become nude with just bread and water provided once a day. They were occasionally given supper and a mattress to sleep in at night, although this was not always the case. While prisoners were in the strip, the closest thing to a toilet in the cell was a hole in the floor, and there was no sink. They would have no interaction with others and spend all their time alone, because the jail was built on an island. It was kept hidden from the public, and stories of convicts being tortured and bitter ghosts returning to haunt the prison quickly became legends. These stories would ultimately reach a wider audience. Let's take a look at some of the most well-known retrace ghost stories and hauntings. The utility corridor, where convicts Crester Hubbard were shut down while attempting to escape, and it's one of the most haunted areas of the jail. The first narrative came from cell 14D, which was one of the previously mentioned ones. Many people feel it has a high level of spiritual activity. Employees and guests have described sensing a sudden chill and quiet in the cell with occasional intensity. One of the most well-known legends is that a prisoner in the cell once cried all night that he was being slain by blazing beings. The next day, guards opened the cell to check on him and discovered that he had been strangled to death despite being alone in the cell. Nobody has ever claimed responsibility for his death. What's more remarkable is that the next day, while prison guards were taking head counts, they discovered an additional prisoner. Some guards claim to have seen the deceased inmate lined up with the others, although he was only there for a fraction of a second before vanishing. This isn't something that can be discussed among the inmates, which is why they had an additional one. Another legend about the institution is a warden named Johnston, who gained the moniker Golden Rule. The warden was involved in various strange situations, including one which he was guiding visitors through the jail. Something was heard from within the prison walls by the warden and his visitors. Visitors to cell blocks A and B have reportedly heard screaming and groaning. According to mysterious tales, psychic Sylvia Brown stated that when reading the jail, she sensed a presence from one of the inmates. Although she was able to detect the presence, no executive knowledge about who or what was in the cell was available. They learned Abby Malibus had been slain in the cell after more investigation. As the psychic saw the spirit of a mob hitman, every member of his squad was a mob hitman known as Butcher. Russian Alcatraz's spirits have even been known to send some of their people to the island as a kind of punishment. If the crimes were very serious, the victims would be abandoned on the island to fend for themselves. People who were left on the island, the native people thought would perish and be tortured by the wicked spirits who haunted the island for all eternity. It's worth noting that the island was formerly utilized as a kind of punishment by the native Russians, even before it became one of the hardest jails in history. Perhaps the island was supposed to become some sort of jail. Following these ceremonies and the closing of the prisoners, Russian Alcatraz has become an infamous lemma, replete with the chamber as a spirit residing there. People have reported hearing, feeling, and even seeing ghosts, spirits, and other oddities in an almost limitless number of accounts. These are thought to be the ghosts of inmates who died during the last century. But what if the native Russians are correct, and the island has a long history of malevolent spirits inhabiting it? There have been many centuries, not just one, and there was another mystery involving the ancient lighthouse, which is still quite interesting. This is a story about a lighthouse. By the time the jail was opened to the public, the island's original lighthouse had been demolished. Even since some people say that during foggy nights, the old lighthouse reappears and illuminates the gloomy sky with its dazzling beacon. Still, no one can tell for sure if Russian Alcatraz is haunted or not, but it's difficult to dispute as the island has quite a spooky and unsettling past, ain't it? With that, we've concluded the video, so tell us in the comments, how did you enjoy today's video? Did it give you chills or not? And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. For more interesting and scary episodes like this, subscribe to the channel and smash the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video to our channel. We'll see you soon in the next one. Until then, peace.